stand before you with a profound sense of pride, humility, and appreciation for this day upcoming, making sure that veterans are continuing to tell their story, to pass this on to future generations, so that we can go ahead and have an understanding, education, and awareness for all Americans, what the sacrifice is, what happens, and that it isn't just a lot of noise in a department store, but there are real veterans that end up sacrificing their lives, their time, their families' times, and it's by telling these stories through education that's important, and that's where we stand today. And so I want to start with everybody saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Stand. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, you may be seated.
Put our hats back on.
Okay, so, we're all very fortunate that we work for not only the most veteran-friendly state, but most veteran-friendly agency in this state. And we have a lot of support from the executive director and the colonel in all of that. So it's terrific to work here. And today, we're able to continue that support by having Major General here. This is the type of thing, these presentations, we're able to project that support the executive director gives us by having this event, the June 14th event, where we bring in all the other agencies, our Toys for Tots, the POW event. These are the type of things that show that type of support, not just the day-to-day things that I do with all the license plates and helping our veterans, but it's these other large events to show how much our director supports our organization. And so I want to, at this time, introduce the Major General. He retired from the Air Force in 2011. I sent out his bio on a lot more detail than that, and he asked that I don't get into it too much because I did send out his email. He thinks it's boring, and he'd rather get to telling his story. But you can see he's been very, very active. I do have to mention, we don't get a lot of people that have over 3,500 flight hours in aircraft with the F-16, F-15, F-4, C-130, and HH-60, as well as over 100 combat missions and operations under his command. Just those numbers alone, I have to still present because, it's just like, you can't go without saying things like
And
that.
Craig, can you explain what Desert Storm is real quick?
It's one of the wars that we had. It was actually before you were born, man. So, most of the people in here can remember it. And some of the people in here, it was after they retired from the military.
Did we win that one?
We did win it in a very short amount of time with overwhelming power and support. So, with that, I am pleased to present Major General Michael Snodgrass.
It's a real pleasure to be here today. So, Chief, still hear me? Yes, sir. All right, great. One of the reasons why I love living in Tallahassee in particular, but Florida in general, is because of the veteran population and groups like this. And I'm a member of several groups. Air Force Association is one of those groups. Military Officers Association of America is another one of those groups. And our MOA chapter, and Cheryl, our president, raise your hand, Cheryl, outgoing president, is very, very active with Honor Flight. You're familiar with Honor Flight.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm speaking at the Honor Flight annual dinner next month. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But those groups do a tremendous amount to help support our veterans as well. But one of the reasons I enjoy being around law enforcement is because there are a lot of similarities between people in law enforcement and military professionals. You are dedicated to something bigger than yourself. You are trying to hold people, yourself included, to a higher standard. You see a larger picture of society, and sometimes you see a part of society that you don't have a lot of time to deal with, but you have to. Because diffuse situations in the enforcement of the law. I drop a 2,000-pound bound law. That's how I diffuse a situation. So the military's ability to use overwhelming force is very, very different from what we need our law enforcement professionals to do. So because of that, and probably because I bought Craig breakfast, I got invited to come here. So I'm going to give you a very short bio of kind of my younger years and a little bit about what happened to me in service, and then talk a little bit about leadership, which is what Craig has asked me to do. Now, I have a 3-day course in leadership that I teach as part of my company. So I'm going to give you all of that in about 15 minutes. And then we can have questions and whatever you guys want to talk about, no problem. So I was born in a very small town, 5,280 people in middle Illinois called Carlinville, like George Carlin. That town now has 5,600, so not a lot's changed there. That small town environment allowed me to learn a lot of lessons in life, mostly because I had great parents who worked all the time to try and provide for us. And I learned a lot of lessons about dedicating yourself to the people that you work for, showing up on time, working hard, and not quitting. There are a lot of reasons why we were that way, but suffice to say, I was listening to my parents have conversations, particularly during the winter months, because my dad had a refrigeration air conditioning business. You don't get a lot of air conditioning service calls in the winter in Illinois. But those conversations centered around, do we skip the power bill? Do we cut back on food? Do we skip the water bill? Do we skip part of the mortgage this month or just pay the interest, or conversations like that? So suffice to say, it was a struggle for them to raise 4 kids in central Illinois in the 60s and 70s. I was fortunate enough to go to the Air Force Academy. I was the 5th of 5 people that Congressman Paul Simon sent to the Air Force Academy. I was the only one that graduated. And this is part of the lessons that I had throughout my life, which is during my interview, and now I sit on the boards for Neil Dunn, and I just did one for Senator Moody. They said, would you accept an appointment to the Naval Academy or West Point? And I said, no. If I can't go to the Air Force Academy, I want to go to the University of Illinois, to Air Force ROTC, because I want to fly for the Air Force. That was my goal. And what I tell young people is, when you have an instinct or something that's telling you that that's what you should pursue, pursue that. Sometimes people will give you advice, sometimes that's good advice, sometimes it just reinforces your predilection to do what it is you want to do. In my case, it was the latter. I learned throughout my life that decisions and choices come your way. The younger you are, the less experience you have to rely on. The older you are, the more confused you are about the options. But I found that there are several things that I could do to help other people. I had the opportunity to lead at a very young age. I led my first warship as a second lieutenant in F4 training because they, for whatever reason, thought that I was capable of doing that. And as an instructor pilot, and then later on in my career, I had the opportunity to command. So I commanded at the squadron level in Valdosta. I commanded 2 bases, one in Kuwait during combat in Desert Storm, one in Alaska, and then I was the chief of staff for U.S. Africa Command towards the end of my career. So I had a lot of command opportunities. I learned a lot of things that got reinforced after I retired and went to work for industry. And one of those is, there's confusion in a lot of organizations about the difference between management and leadership. Management is about policy, process, procedures, and protocols. Management is important. Leadership is about people. Leadership is about finding the things that motivate those people and helping them see the vision and giving them the tools and getting the hell out of the way. I found so much confusion in industry about that it really surprised me. But I do believe that there are some keys to leadership. One of the first ones is you have to take ownership of your people. And And when I say take ownership of your people, I'm not asking you to adopt them. I'm not asking you to be their great uncle. I'm asking you to be a participant in their success by being interested in them. I really believe you have to like people to be a good leader. If you don't like people, there are a lot of solo activities that we can find for you. But it's important that you do that. Once you take ownership of your people, then you can start to motivate them. Motivation is difficult. Now, you'll hear a lot of people talk about, I want my people to be loyal to the organization, I want them to trust my judgment. And that's true. Those are good things. In my view, trust and loyalty start at the top and are reflected back. You show your people you trust them, you give them the ability to do their jobs, you listen to them, you ask good questions, and they will reflect that trust back. If your people struggle, you need to defend them and you need to help them. You need to be loyal to them, and they will reflect that loyalty back. I'm not the smartest guy around. In fact, not by a long shot. I never needed to be the smartest guy in the room either. I always made sure that my people had what they needed and allowed them to do the things that they had to do. One of the best things that happened when I was a wing commander in Alaska, I came back from a long trip. My command chief came into my office. He said, "Boss, we had this situation, couldn't get a hold of you. We figured you'd want to do it like this, so we did it." I said, "You bet. Exactly right. Don't wait for me. Do the right thing. Make decisions and move out." What I found was, if I limited myself to the hardest 20% of the problems and let people do their jobs, we were eminently more successful. And that hardest 20% had to do with taking risks. And I'm okay with that. That's my job, to take the risk. I don't want a GS-9 contracting officer or a tech sergeant or a second lieutenant to take an inordinate amount of risk. That's my job, to make that judgment, take that risk, which means if it goes badly, it's my fault. And I'm okay with that too. Much better for me to take the spears from higher ups, because everybody works for somebody, than it is for my kids to take those spears. Another thing that I found that is very important is that there can only be one team. Can't be an A team, B team, and a C team. There's one team, it's my team. You're on my team, you're on my team. If you prove to me that you can't be trusted, that you don't want to be on my team, there are opportunities in the fast food industry that we will find for you at any given point. And I'm serious about that. I want people to understand there's one team. In order to have one team, you have to make fact-based decisions. I'm going to let you think about that for a second. Quite frankly, in our society, we don't do a lot of fact-based decision making. People make decisions based off of intuition. I read a book, Thinking Fast and Slow. It was very hard to get through. This guy's brilliant. He's a scientist, not a good writer. But the thesis of his book was, you have two sides of your brain. You got your intuitive side, you got your fact-based side. Your intuitive side is the one that says, the light's turning yellow, I need to slow down, or in some cases speed up, so I don't cause a traffic problem. That's intuitive. The fact-based side is when somebody's sitting next to you and says, "Hey, divide 360 by 15. Can't do that while I'm driving because that requires a lot more muscle memory and brain power to do that. If you make fact-based decisions, it allows you to do something that I think is crucial. Keep your ego out of the decision process. Too many times our egos get involved with our decisions. My idea. I thought of it. What does that really mean? I want credit. If your ego is out of it and you look at the facts, it's liberating. It's liberating because if the facts change, you can change your decision. If you learn something new, you should be adult enough to be able to say, "I didn't know that. That's new information." I used to make a real show out of telling people that's new information. continue to change? Is it too soon to make a decision? But by keeping your ego out of it and focusing on facts, that trust that we talked about with our people, and the fact that we don't have an A team and a B team and a C team, that builds more trust in your authority and your ability to make decisions. They all work together. It's important that you communicate these things to your folks. Now, I'm not saying you have to be an extrovert. I'm not saying introverts can't be good leaders, because I've seen plenty of those. But I am saying that you have to learn how to communicate. If you sit behind your desk and just pass out decisions and never tell people the rationale of why you're doing it, they probably won't really understand why we're doing it. And if you can make them understand why we're doing it, a lot of times they're going to come back with a better idea. And that's okay. Because our goal is for the entire organization to succeed. Now, I would tell my mid-level leadership, I know you're in the middle of these things. I want to talk to your people about what we're doing to make sure they know why I think the way I think, so that they can execute. You don't have to take credit. I know you're in charge. And I spend a lot of time talking to people in the chow hall and other places, and you can kind of get a sense for what leaders are knuckleheads and which ones are good. It doesn't take long. You just got to